All right, welcome to another episode of the Empowerment Perspective Podcast. I go by the name of Damiso Josey alongside
Spence is here.
Spence is back in the building. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well.
We had a little car trouble last time, right? We missed you on the podcast.
I sat in that place a long wait for the rim to get fixed. I need to open up a rim shop.
Yeah, well, if you didn't have that expensive car, you probably would have been in and out of there.
How about the Empowerment Perspective rim shop? How about that?
It might be a possibility.
Absolutely. He's going to branch out in different areas, especially in areas that I need help with. So everything I have a problem with is going to be the Empowerment Perspective.
I got you. I'm trying to figure out why or how you still got more an expensive car than I do, and we work in the same place. The Empowerment Perspective's not paying you right now.
Well, here's the thing. You like having money in your pocket. I like helping the economy. I want to keep us afloat.
Makes sense to me. Makes sense to me. I know the last time we were going to drop a promo on some of the things that we got coming up as far as podcasts are concerned.
Yes.
The league.
Oh, well, I'll say this. We have the league, and the league, what we're going to do is we're going to highlight those in the community. We're going to highlight coaches, athletes, students, and what we want to do is put a positive light on those that are doing well and doing positive things. But I will say about the volleyball team, we almost had a breakup. So
the Fat Boys almost broke up.
Before we even got started, we almost had a breakup with volleyball team. So one of the teammates, shout out to Mr. Martin, comes in and asks me if I needed to practice. And I'm like, practice? I really wanted to say like Irish said, like, what do you mean practice? I don't need to practice. This is volleyball.
You got your eye on Irish.
Yes, the ball comes, you hit it. It's really simple. But shout out to my teammates, Mr. Martin. We're going to get a championship.
So we're going to drop the league soon. We're working on the details with that. We're also going to come out with another podcast called The Teachers Lounge.
Oh, Teachers Lounge.
And technically today is the Teachers Lounge, but we're going to keep it with the Empowerment Perspective Podcast.
Yeah.
But the Teachers Lounge, we're going to highlight educators of all shapes, forms, and fashions, not just traditional teachers. We're going to deal with all kinds of educators on that one.
And shout out to Noriega and their podcast that they do, because again, that's where the platform came from, is being able to highlight those in our profession.
Absolutely.
And it's not too often that we get opportunity to shine a bright light on someone that's doing well. Let somebody make a mistake, like those who decide they was going to play around with that Medicaid or that insurance thing they're doing. So every week, somebody's going to court and they're getting negative spin on education.
Gotcha.
All those are doing wrong. So
yeah, you being too nice, right? I'm telling Nora, you better watch out. You better look over your shoulder.
Nora's my guy.
I'm coming for you.
We need to get him on the podcast.
Yeah, we definitely need to get him on the podcast. We can't do the activities that he does on the show on the podcast, but we can get him on the podcast.
Yes.
All right. So last time, a couple episodes ago, we had the state of education. We did part 1 with that, and that conversation was very interesting. Had a lot of information in there, and I just felt like we ran out of time to explore all the topics that we need to talk about in that. Specifically, we talked about the school-to-prison pipeline. We also talked about how to reach minority and Latino students on there. So we kind of wanted to branch out and open up the discussion a little bit more. So we have some very, very special people in the building today. This might go down as a record as the most guests that we have or had on the podcast ever.
Yes.
So I'm going to first introduce somebody that I worked with my first time at the school that I was at. I saw this young lady down there, and she was always telling somebody how attractive they look. Now, she was probably trying to smooth them over a little bit. Now that I know her, she was trying to smooth them over a little bit.
She was selling them on something.
Selling them over, but phenomenal educator. Dealt with the special ed. Came from Philadelphia. I'm still trying to figure out why she got to South Jersey, but maybe we'll get into that a little bit. So I would like to welcome retired educator onto the podcast. Can I say your name or no? Did we just say? Yeah. All right. Doctor. Thank you, Miss Brenda Pitt. Let's make some noise for Brenda.
Mix it out. Okay.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today, lady?
I'm doing great.
It's a pleasure to have you here. It's been a while.
Philly. What part of Philly? I love Philly.
North Philadelphia,
Philly.
right where Temple University is, the hospital.
Really?
Oh, you was up in there too. Deep.
Okay.
Yes. You asked me how I got here? Accidentally.
We want to dig into that. I'm going to get there, because we had a conversation last night. We're going to dig into that. But I want to introduce the next person.
Okay.
I have to be honest. Another person that I worked with, the first time I saw her, I was like, who is this lady? She's really, really intelligent, but she wasn't like loud and I just, all over the place and kind of reserving to herself. Then she decided to become a vice principal, and I had the pleasure of working with her. Again, I was questioning, can I get along with this person? Then I realized that she knew what a John was.
She knew what a John was?
She knew what a John was.
And that was it.
I said, that was it.
She passed the test.
She passed the test.
So it was a one question
That
assessment.
was it. That was it. Also from Philadelphia, too.
What part of Philly?
Northeast.
The
Northeast. Did you guys ever see each other?
No,
Okay.
no.
You guys-
Not at that time.
Not at that time?
Yeah, I've never been.
Okay. Send the resume.
See, the Northeast, you were doing well if you got there.
Oh.
We'll get there.
We'll get
I know,
there.
yes.
So she's currently a principal in school, and we got her on the show. We'd like to welcome her onto the show. Great friend of mine. Thank you for being here today.
So thank you for having me.
Going right down the line. I love music. I love to hear people sing. And I'm kind of got introduced to her by accident, I believe. Me and my friend were hanging out one time, and she was there. So this is my music teacher. I was like, oh. And then she started talking about plays and stuff like that. And I was like, this is really, really interesting. So we have a music teacher in the building. Lola, how you doing today? Lola?
I'm doing great.
Let's make some noise with Lola.
Super excited to be here.
Going right down the line some more. You two have something in common, Mr. Spence.
Okay.
And Jennifer here. Both guidance counselors. So this is
Okay.
going to be a really, really interesting perspective that you bring to the table. She's one of the people that actually let me in the building when I go visit my friend. So she vouches that I'm okay.
She's head of security too?
Listen.
She actually has a very conveniently located office.
She does. She
at the
does.
front door.
First one to the front door. So.
She does. Listen, that place is like Fort Knox in it. I can't even call my friend. I got to go through like 5 people before I even get there. Like she got it hooked up. So welcome, Jennifer, to the show.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
There's a lot of people here.
It is a lot of people.
I'm almost nervous. No, not really. I'm joking. So we're going to start with you, Miss Pitt. And I just want to know why you chose to get into education. Like, why is it important to you, and why did you choose to go that route?
Well, actually, I wasn't in education. I always say things happen to me accidentally. As I told you, my first degree was in human service, and at that time, you couldn't get a job in it. And so my dad had encouraged me. He wanted me to be in education in undergrad, but I didn't want to do. If he said left, I said right. Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to do as a kid.
No, it had to be right.
Rebel.
No.
Rebel.
And so after long story short, bouncing around with no job, and no sign of a job, I was overseas, and I told you what was 2 weeks turned to 2 years, and
Long vacation.
I think it was planned.
I did plan it,
Vacation.
but they thought that it was just a vacation, and my brother was there, so I stayed 2 years. When I came back broke, and I asked, as I told
You can call me by my name,
teacher,
however you want.
that I asked him, could I borrow $10,000 to set me up? Yeah, I did. See, I had no sense. I asked him,
Came out,
could I borrow?
10 G's, just like that.
Yeah, I did.
No IOU, nothing.
No,
Just 10
wait,
G's.
I asked him, could I borrow $10,000? I had a plan and how I would work it out. $250 a month until it was paid off. He told me no. He said what he would do was invest in me, and this time I was going to major in education.
Okay.
So why I say it's accidentally, once I, graduated out of grad school and I was able to go into the field, that's when I started seeing all the, different things that were going on. And it was really crazy because I started in a high school, and within 10 years, life had changed. Children had changed in a 10-year span. And it was, it just was interesting to me. So
I'm still stuck on the fact that you went overseas. It's supposed to be.
That's what's bothering you? That 10 G question was bothering me.
what
That's what
happened-
bothers you.
And as I told you, to be honest, My first husband and I didn't work out. It just didn't work. So I was embarrassed. The truth was I was embarrassed because my marriage didn't work out. And in my mind, I thought everybody was talking about it. Now, mind you, people could have cared less. But in my mind, everybody's talking about it. I bet you they're saying this. I bet you they're saying that. And so when the opportunity arose where my brother invited me, and my parents said, "Oh, that'd be great for you to go," I went. But I had in my mind I wasn't coming back. But they didn't know that. Meanwhile, they're supporting me over there. Yeah.
That's really
Well, see what happened
You're a genius.
when you have a they had a grandchild. So to say no to me, they didn't know what they were, and I feel the same way as a grandparent. You didn't know what you were saying no to. So they just, that's
a very
what
interesting
happened.
story. You're a very interesting person too.
She got grind with her.
How about you? How did you get an education?
Well, I think I would say the same answer as Ms. Pitt. I would say by accident. So
You accept for 10 G's too?
I should have. So that was a better idea. I came up with. But I just wanted to play sports in college, and I thought I better just pick the subject I did the best in high school and figure it out from there. And one of my professors said, "Why don't you go into teaching? You can coach, you can play sports." And I thought, okay, I'll try that out. But I really wanted to be a college professor, and I took my first job in an urban school district teaching high school. And when I got there, they gave me the schedule on the first day of school, and they said, "These are students who you're actually teaching freshman English, but you're going to teach it to kids who failed it 4 times." Now, I'm not a math person, but you're still in school. Either I just couldn't figure that out.
What are they, 25?
No. You was in a prep school. They got an extra year? Is that what that is?
I went into that classroom with these kids, and they said, we gave them to you in the morning, so they'll be a little bit calmer. And I had kids taking cabs to school and all kinds of stuff, and they failed it, that class 3 times, and then also once in summer school.
That's crazy.
And I was like, I don't even know what I'm going to do with this. But I fell in love with these kids. And I just thought to myself, this is what I have to do. So I wanted to be in an urban setting, and I spent 10 years in an urban setting, and then I became an administrator sort of by accident. But after that, just to kind of make a long story short, I became a principal because I wanted to see if I could be in a small district where I could do everything. So I wanted to serve the lunches in the cafeteria and also create programming and help our at-risk kids. And I wanted to walk to a student's home who doesn't want to come to school and tell them it's time to get out of bed. Nobody wants their principal knocking on their door in the morning. And so now I'm in a very small district, but my passion always was with urban students.
That's crazy. You are the modern day Joe Clark.
Absolutely. Yes. You used to call it Crazy Joe. They call it Batman.
Lola, how about you? How'd you get an education?
Well, I never, ever wanted to be a teacher, ever. My mother was a teacher. My sister is a teacher. It's kind of the family business. And I was like, no, I've been to enough take your daughter to work days to know I can't hear my name 1,000 times a day and answer it. So I went to school for music because I have a passion to write music, perform it, and I, dabbled with all the instruments. And I was performing, writing music, and in addition, I was teaching private music lessons. And then all of a sudden, I had this 13-year-old girl who couldn't sing, and 6 months of working, blew my mind. And I was like, oh my gosh, I should find more kids.
Right.
And it just grew and grew and grew, and then I realized I really needed to take it to the classroom. And it's just something I go every day, and I love all their faces. It really fills your soul. So it was something that I guess it was a calling, but you didn't think, it necessarily would be. So
That's awesome. I can tell that you love what you do just by your expression and your passion in it.
If you come into my classroom, you could pretty much tell it too, right?
That's awesome. Jennifer, how about you?
Well, I started out as a social worker, and I loved that job. I loved going into the houses and talking with families and working with them, but I found that I spent a lot more time talking to the kids and listening to them and what they need and what they felt like they were lacking. And that job didn't allow me a lot of opportunity to work directly with the students, with the kids. So I wanted to, I talked to a lot of my professors at college, and I was thinking about, well, maybe I need to, be more in the administrative side of working in the human service field. But I decided ultimately I wasn't gonna have an opportunity to talk with families at all, to talk with kids. So I decided to go back and, get my degree in school counseling. And I've worked in this capacity for the last 8 years. I absolutely love it. I think that every day is a good day when you feel like you've, had the medley of students in your office crying and figuring something out, and working out a conflict with a friend, figuring out what they want to do, and it's an amazing. I feel like every day is something very different, and I love it. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Interesting stuff. Great stories on how you got in there. I told my story on this podcast 1,000 times. I'm not going to go over it. I want to go into your personal opinion of the educational system in general, the good and the bad. Like, what's working in our schools? Let's start there. And what do you think is working with our children? Actually, I'm going to start with Ms. Pitt, and because I'm going to ask you a different question.
Okay.
How has it changed? Because you've been there for a while, or you now recently retired. Like, what changes have you seen in the educational system?
Oh, many. I'm just trying to think. There are many changes that have gone on in education. One of the things that always disturbed me was that we didn't have enough support from parents. That's what really bothered me. But yet there are many reasons for that, and it is what it is. Some children, they didn't have parents. They were in foster care, and we all know about foster care, You being a social worker, by now, I know you have figured out that there's some good foster care parents,
Absolutely.
but then there's some that they want that, $300-400, and they will tell you, well, I got to get a kid because I need to, in fact, I just heard that just a week ago, someone telling me, oh, I need a kid, and I know that there's no way. First of all, they're too old. Second of all, to put into a kid what you need to do, they're not going to do. So that's part of the problem. Then you have the problem with the parent that is probably doing the best they can, but they're trying to get ahead. They don't have time, So if you're working 16, if you're doing a double for whatever job you're on, you don't have time to see if this child was happening in school, was happening good, was happening bad. So that becomes an issue, There are many different issues, It's not just one set, one set way that this is why this happens.
It sounds like you're saying that it's really complex when you start to break it down.
Yes, it's there are many reasons.
Okay.
And then you have kids that come from, and I have seen, and you can probably be a witness to this, that came from nothing. And they become everything. But it's within that person that I'm going to do better.
So how do we develop that in our children, our students? That grit, that why?
Like I said, it is what it is. So when you don't have the support, then that's up to us to develop that. So it's more than teaching math. It's more than teaching social studies. It's more than that. It's about developing. That you can do anything you want to do. There's nothing that's impossible. Michelle Obama said it best. And she always reminded me of a young lady from In the Neighborhood that showed you, didn't she? From In the Neighborhood, you might have seen In the Neighborhood, you may not have known her, but she was in the neighborhood. And she developed, but then she did have parental, support. But for those that don't, then it's up to us.
It sounds like we're tapping into the social emotional learning piece of students now.
Because that's the whole person.
Right.
It's more than college prep math or whatever. It's more than that.
Right,
No.
right. Now, as guidance counselors, you probably see that side more so than, your standard teacher. Like, what are some of the ways that we can tap into the social emotional learning of our students?
Communication. I don't mean to cut you
No,
off.
absolutely.
So when we have opportunity to have a conversation, not about academics, not about home life, just about that particular person in that particular moment, you start breaking down barriers and you start building a relationship. So now what happens is that if I need to redirect you on something, and I can, because you know that I get you and you get me.
No, I would absolutely agree with that. I mean, and I think a lot of it too that I find with my students is letting them know it's okay to ask for help with anything. I mean, some of them, they, depending on where they come from in their family life, or the students who they have sitting next to them, that I don't want to feel stupid. I don't want to ask for help. I don't want to stay after school because it's going to present this idea that I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
It's okay. We all ask for help.
And I agree with that.
I reflect back on my own childhood, and it wasn't that I was afraid to ask for help. That was just something that we didn't do in our family. We didn't. We had to fend for yourself. So when I'm in the classroom, I'm fending for myself. Yeah. So you have those students that struggle with that as well. From the music perspective, how do we attack the social emotional learning within the context of your classroom?
Well, I think it's a great subject matter because there's more like liberties for the students. And sometimes students who don't necessarily shine in your math or your ELA classes, they can really shine in music. So all I try to do is create an environment that lets them shine at what they do best.
Wait. Say
And I
that.
agree.
Hold on, say that one more time. Just what you said again. Say that one more time.
All I do is try to create an environment where they can shine the best.
One more time. Say that one more time.
All I do is try to create an environment where they can shine the best. And I think it really does work out because some students are just natural at playing an instrument and some students are just natural at, singing, or even just, it's this comfort zone. And I feel like that's so important, especially, I teach middle school music. So it's a tough time for students to just be. So it's really important just to give them a
agree
place.
with you because I used to tell my students I was an awful cook. I could sing you to ER, no doubt. You will go, okay? I mean, something as simple as making rice, you're going to ER, okay? If you try it, But everybody has something that they can shine, For me, when it came to housework and stuff, I could clean a house within less than 2 hours.
Can I hire you?
It's gonna happen.
Your card,
Teach
you can come
But I could, I could do your house from top to bottom in less than 2 hours, primarily because I did that as a teenager because my grandmother had a business. So that's how I made my money. So that's how I learned. But to cook, I don't know what it was. I just didn't, I don't know. Things went wrong, and I had home ec and got an F.
I just want to chime in. So now we have the empowerment perspective, new business, house cleaning.
Yes.
So call us, and we'll come clean your house 2 hours. Those educators that are listening, we can get 3 houses in one day while you're working.
Most people waste a lot of time doing one thing
Don't tell
instead
them.
of...
No, don't tell them.
You're giving away the secret.
Oh, okay.
Come on, man.
No, I didn't tell you what you wasted time on.
I want to get back to why Kareem had you restate that over and over again. I know we've had conversations.
We've had
so
several conversations.
Can you explain why you made Lola do that several times?
The purpose of that is because if you are able to create the environment in every single classroom, you'll get buy-in from your students. And once you get buy-in, now you have that classroom climate and culture where everybody feels comfortable and everybody's on the same level. Not one person is feeling better, not one person is feeling worse. You want to have a classroom where everyone feels comfortable, because then you can have communication. You can go in and you can develop a classroom culture. You actually can have a community within your classroom, and that's in every classroom, regardless of the subject matter. And that's what we need. We need to have individualized classroom climate for each and every particular grade level.
Yeah. I want to take it on a larger scale. We're both administrators, and we hear the buzzword culture and climate all the time. Like, how do we create positive culture and climate, generally speaking? I mean, that's our job to do that. So how do you do that as an administrator?
I mean, I think it starts with you as a person. There's no program, worksheet, packet. You need to be a leader and step out of your office and treat the kids. I mean, when I was a classroom teacher, I always believed, and I would tell my students every day, I am probably the only consistent thing in your life. Every single day when you come in, I'm going to be here with the same even keel attitude, same sense of humor, say good morning, and ask you how you are. And as an administrator, you know, I'm proud to have Jennifer and Lola because that's what we believe as the philosophy in the building where I run everything. And I think getting out in the hallway, talking to the students, asking them how their day is. So when they come into your office for a disciplinary situation, you can have an actual conversation with them as a person from a perspective of learning and also of saying, hey, I'm disappointed in you. And it means something to them instead of just saying, here's a detention. And so my goal is to try to talk to every student, to know every person's name. And that's why I wanted to go to a smaller school.
Gotcha.
You know, even in a big school, we were able to do that together.
Yeah, we had over 900 kids, and I can tell you everybody's name. I can tell you what they're doing, what they're not doing, and all of that stuff. It's just being invested in the kids at the end of the day. You made a point, and I kind of want to bring parents into this just so that we understand this point. We got to stop, when your kids come home, stop asking them how their day was. And that's not the question I think you need to ask. I think you need to ask them how they feel. Because if they say how's your day was, it was okay. You always get the okay thing. But if you ask them how they feel, now they got to think about, all right, well, am I happy? Am I sad? Well, how was my day? So now the conversation is completely different. You'll get the same amount of information back that you want anyway, but the conversation opens up. So when I talk to kids in my office all the time, I don't ask them necessarily what happened. I ask them, how do you feel about it? What happened? Well, I'm angry about it. All right, and then we start to break down, and that dialogue starts to happen. So parents out there, I know it, sometimes I fall in the trap, pick up my kids in the car. It's like, how was your day? It was good. Okay. No, how did you feel today? I'm Jaden. No, I'm sad. She's always sad. I don't know why she's sad. Always sad. And then Simone says frustrated sometimes, and then we have this conversation and dialogue. But going back to that culture and climate piece, I think it is extremely important to be you, right? And if you're a good person, if you're a nice person, it's going to shine through. But if you're, I'm going to censor myself, not a nice person, that's not what I want to say, people are going to see right through that. And that's how the environment of the school is going to be.
Especially children.
Right. And your classroom, too.
It's also important to treat your staff really, really well because the kids, it all just kind of rolls downhill. So you want people to feel appreciated and like they're heard, their ideas are heard. If somebody comes into my office and wants to do something for kids, I will find the money and find the way. Because how can you go wrong? Somebody has a great idea that they're passionate about. It doesn't matter if it fits in with every initiative or 50 million things that you want to do. You just make it happen because it's what's best for the kids. And then when you treat the teachers well and the staff well, they treat the kids well. Because they feel appreciated and they feel like their creativity is welcome in your building.
That lesson I learned, not to cut you off, Kareem, I learned that lesson through hip hop, actually, to create something out of nothing. So when people come to me and was like, I want to do this idea, all right, let's try to make it happen. And when we don't have money and resources, I don't care about that. We'll figure out a way, make it out of paper. I don't care what we do. We got to make that happen. So that's a lesson that I learned from
just to chime in, when you mentioned that the conversations that parents are having with their kids, one of the biggest issues that I continue to have when I speak to parents is the automatic, I want to say, frustration that comes with the curriculum and the way they were taught versus what we're doing now. So I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and I had to explain to him that is a problem that has been created out of nothing. So what happens is that when a parent is not able to teach their kid, now what happens is that the kid loses trust in the parent.
Right.
So I'm sitting down, I'm frustrated with my homework, and I ask you can't help me. You trying to show me something, but I go to school, now I get in trouble for doing something you told me to do.
Yes.
Well, that's the piece I was going to say. The teacher has to be flexible on their end. Like, let's take math, for example, right? They teach us this new math. I don't even understand it to be able to help my third grader how to do it. But at the end of the day, they're solving the problem. They're solving it correctly. At the end of the day, what difference does it make? There's more than one way to solve the problem. But educators are getting into this pattern of, it has to be this way or it's wrong. And I think that's the wrong message that we're sending out to kids in the world. And the point that the parents can't help them now is huge. Now I got to create a class just to teach parents how to help their kids. It's crazy.
So now, but that discourse that happens and that dysfunction that is created within the house, and this is in every house, regardless of the economic standing. Now, what happens is that it becomes trust and mistrust between parents and their children. And anytime you can get a child not to trust his parent, now what happens is that now we get on that road where as though they can end up in foster care because no longer I don't trust you anymore. What are you going to teach me? You know nothing. So now the parents are looking as if, even if they have college educations, that you can't teach a child. So now that child is no longer yours.
That's crazy. Interesting point. Let's shift gears a little bit in terms of how are we preparing our students for the future. So most of us are middle school, or actually we all middle school educators at some particular point in time. And our job is to get them ready for high school. And then how does the high school get them prepared for either the workforce or college? And Pete was on here last time, and I said we're kind of doing students a disservice, especially when it comes to college. Like the whole mindset of the student at this particular point is that the teacher's job is to teach me. So it makes them passive, right? So but when you get to college, it's all about creating your own understanding, and then these kids don't understand how to do that.
Right.
I guess the general question is, why are we giving disservice to these kids and sending them down the wrong path? And are we really preparing them for the future is the question. Anybody can jump in on that. It's a loaded question.
I'll jump in first. I think that even the question of preparation for something that you don't know is going to happen becomes a really big problem. How can I prepare you for something that I don't know is going to happen tomorrow?
Exactly. You know, DJ, you made a really good point about being passive for teaching. I went through Catholic school, and I don't know, it was, you give me the information, and all I had to do was
Regurgitate it back.
Yes.
regurgitate it back. Freshman year in college, I failed 2 courses because now it was Western civilization. I can't remember, but it was one of the humanities classes. Now I had to think. I couldn't think. I was used to, you're going to give me this information, I'm going to give it back to you. I couldn't think. I couldn't, the question was, why do you think, let me see, Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves, Well, I knew Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. I never thought about why.
Why? Right.
No, he didn't.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, it's a whole nother podcast.
Next year's Black History Month topic.
I never,
No, he
so it's being able to rationalize, think, I couldn't do that. And I told you I got in a lot of trouble growing up.
You're still getting in trouble.
Accidentally. Can you imagine my father, Dr. Joyce, when he saw that transcript?
I think that's what you hit on. Now, we may not be able to prepare them for the future because we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring.
We don't.
But we can teach them to think.
Right, to
And
think.
then make decisions.
Yeah.
And make decisions, whether they be right or wrong. I'm sorry.
That's key.
Even if they're wrong, at least you've learned something. I couldn't make decisions. I hadn't made them. They were made for me. Growing up, you're going to do this, this, and this. I went to college because they told me to go, not because I thought, this is going to. No, that I would be lying if I said that. No, I went because they said so.
I think that's key. Even when they make a decision and it turns out to be the wrong decision, teaching our children to be reflective and think about, why did we make the wrong decision? What was our goal? What was our purpose? What were we, trying to achieve, and what happened? What went wrong? And I think sometimes that's what happens. Well, I was wrong. I failed the test, or I didn't do this right, and it's over. I'm not going to go back. Well, we need to go back. We learn so much from our mistakes, and I think it's so important. I try in my own personal life with my own children and in school to let the children see me make a mistake and see me be reflective. What did I do? What could I do differently? Help me in this process so that in turn I'm gonna hope that you're learning these skills and you can do the same thing for yourself.
I think one of the important questions that we need to ask students, especially starting in middle school, is how can we help you? Like, I don't think educators have enough, don't do it enough. Like, how can I help you learn in this class? Like, what is it going to take does the class need to be more interesting, more entertaining? Do I need to be more organized? Like, we don't have those questions with these kids enough. I know you was going to say something, Ms.
Oh, big mouth. Well, I think the teachers are busy trying to get through the curriculum because, see, there's a time frame. You have to do
Basic
this,
guide.
this, and this. So you only have 7 hours. And in that 7 hours, what do you have, 42 minutes? Is it 42 minutes? You know, I can't remember now. 42 minutes to get this, and this across, you know. So, I don't know.
Can I ask this question?
Yes,
Now,
sir.
you've been in education for a long time.
Yes.
How many teachers do you know that got fired because they didn't get to the end of the curriculum or they didn't get a certain test score?
Well, they don't know that.
I'm-
That they're not going to be fired.
Well, I've been in there for 17 years. I haven't seen not one person get fired because they didn't get to the end of the content.
Yes, you're right. But then they don't want any problems.
I
They
don't
will
say-
tell you that.
But it doesn't make sense for them to be worried about getting
Right.
to point Z, and no one has ever
I
been
never
fired.
worried about that,
Right.
you know, and I didn't care what they said.
Right.
See, that's what I developed. That they could talk about me. I don't care.
Yeah, that's a whole other point. But I think a lot of educators are hiding behind that. You know, as a reason to why not, you know, deviate from the plan. At the end of the day, the content to me is irrelevant. If I can get you to solve a problem and get you to realize where you want to go tomorrow, the
I
subject
agree
is
with
irrelevant.
you. I do. But
But-
then that's not the way it is.
But what happens if you don't get there? Nothing.
Sometimes they get bad advice from
Yes.
colleagues.
Yes,
you
they
know,
do. And your colleagues have a lot. When they're in that faculty room,
Teachers Lounge.
That's why I
The
stay
teachers
on
promo
there.
for the Teachers Lounge.
Plug in the
You know,
teacher's lab.
Yeah.
So what?
I
feel like
heard
that's a
some
whole nother
things that I
conversation,
said,
but-
Yeah, let's go there.
You know.
Let's go there because we can
We
plug
want
the teachers lounge.
Teachers Lounge.
Why is the teachers lounge like that?
you know.
I think it's just a combination of like old school things that happen with, you know, maybe people who were working for many years and they're not
Right.
adapt to change. And then you have fresh
Exactly.
blood that's like, oh, we're doing all these crazy things.
And
And
they're going to say you're wild and out of control and you're not in the time frame. And then that's a problem. And then you're not a team player. You
Right.
know? And that was the
I
key.
think that's the
team
difference with
player.
like venting and really communicating with someone about what's going on. You know, I find, and I mean, this isn't every teacher's lounge, but you know, that when someone's frustrated, they want to vent, they want to feel heard, and that's great. And I think, you know, we all need that and it's therapeutic, but you need to get to a place where that ends and we're working on resolving whatever problem happened. And I think sometimes when people are venting together, they're not doing that for one another. They're listening, and it's just creating this negative environment where we're all complaining about what's not going right. You know, and so then we left, and that's okay. Now I still feel as bad as I did when I walked in here. I don't feel any better.
Right.
yeah,
You know?
I feel like there's something to be said when it's like someone comes to you with a problem, will come to you with the solution to
Right.
the problem as well.
Yeah.
And I think that that's always just like key in everything. It's like, okay, that's the situation. How can we fix it?
But I think we need to take it a step further. Like with me, if I have a problem, I bring it to you guys. I'm always going to have a solution in my brain. I'm just giving you a solution and give me some help with this solution. Don't just come up here and be complaining about Johnny and this and this and this and don't have a solution yourself. I think, I don't know. I'm frustrated because the complaining is unnecessary. To me, I get it. There's frustrations with your job. There's a time and place for that, but you don't need to be doing that because there's times where kids were walking by the teachers' lounge and they hear that conversation
Yes,
take
they
place.
do.
And how do you think that kid feels when you have that conversation?
I agree with you.
So
and
we
I've,
gotta-
I've experienced that. I've seen that, you know.
you got to be
That's
careful.
true.
I know you was going to say something.
Well, it sounds like when I was listening to everybody talk that they were actually describing the movie book Ghostbusters. Now, in the city of New York, you had like this negativity that was flowing underneath the city, and it continued. The more negativity that was created, the more I want to say bad things continue to happen in the city of New York, until ultimately it just exploded. And I think that's what we're actually seeing with all this violence in schools now, is that it's no longer a place that positivity and I want to say hope and everything else is being developed. Now it's becoming everything that is negative.
Exactly.
And I know during our presentations, I had this example of Cory Booker. He was
Yes.
the mayor of Newark, right? And I remember seeing something, a TV special where
Called
he
Brick
went.
City.
I think so. And he went to Newark, and he was like, they was like, how can I change Newark? And they said, you need to go see Miss Johnson, whatever the lady's name was in this project. So he goes up there to see Miss Johnson. She takes him down in the courtyard. She says, tell me what you see. He was like, oh, the graffiti, there's gangsters. And she was like, you can't do anything for Newark. He said, if all you see is the negative, you can't affect newer.
Exactly.
So educators got to be careful in terms of how we view what we do. Like, if all you're going to point out is a negative, you're not going to be able to help these kids.
Well, I feel like the issue is too. It's people, at least from like my experience with other teachers. It's the teachers who don't have the students' best interest at heart.
Right.
Sometimes that's what it is. You get so absorbed with what you have to do, like mandated, that it's like, look at the kids. What's going to benefit them the best? And I think that's like a big reflection I'm doing in my own practice. It's like, okay, if this class wants to know more about this, let's deviate because they're going to be more interested and engaged.
Exactly.
Right.
And I could make a bigger impact than just following the course.
You actually
Exactly.
talk to your kids?
I do.
You don't come in and as soon as they walk in the classroom, okay, open the books, page 35. We're going over chapter 3. Eric, sit down. Sally, you're talking too much. Hey, can somebody turn the lights off? Hey, no, back. Somebody turn the lights. So you actually have a conversation.
Yeah,
with people.
Right.
And sometimes I think, that's so cool for the students
It
now.
is.
The education's so different. You have so many choices. I mean, everything I do, there's so many choices. You want to do it this way? Great. How could you do it? And I think that that's a good life skill that we can bring to them for the future because everything you do is a choice.
Right.
I know you wanted to say something, Miss Pitt. You over there itching,
No, I
scratching.
want you to say. No, what you just said, 15 years ago, if you had tried that, you would have got bad observations. Then that would have been a problem.
How many
In the
people-
80s, you would have gotten bad observations. It was, you were in this framework, in this box, and you had to follow these rules. If you started talking and off onto a different whatever, your observations would have been bad. Now they're talking about you in the faculty room because everybody knows.
I keep going back to this point, though. How many people got fired because they got bad observations?
No one actually got fired. But wait.
Lounge. They just
But
don't talk about what
3
happened.
years and 1 day, you had to get there. So your first year as a teacher, you better stay in that time frame if you want a contract the second year.
So you-
and the third.
You're telling me I can't
No, I
really teach
understand.
until year 4?
Yeah.
They told me that.
Yeah.
They told
Yeah.
me that the first day. They said, listen, don't do anything extra until you
Exactly.
get past that third year.
Exactly.
My first
But here's what happened. I didn't even get to my third year because they ran out of money. They fired me anyway.
Who is it? 3 years and 1 day.
Now it's 5 years.
Is it 5 years?
Yeah.
4 years.
Wait a minute. So it's
Yeah.
4 years and 1 day. Oh,
So
I
it
couldn't
doesn't
keep it
matter
together
because
that long.
If they run out of money, it doesn't matter how many years you got. You know what? Unfortunately,
we
we're
gonna-
gonna let you go.
Give you this riff
Yeah.
letter, and you're gone.
I remember that day because I was buying tires.
Oh no!
I spent $900 on tires.
Oh God!
Yes, I always
You
have
was
car
your car issue.
Wait, so I'm at Firestone. Listen, hold on, wait. I'll tell the story. I'm at Firestone, right?
Yes.
And my guy, right? He calls me. I'm not going to tell him his name, but he calls me on the phone. He's like, "Yo, listen, your name's on the list." I'm like, "My name
Oh
on the
yeah,
list to
the
what?"
list. I remember the
On the
list.
list to what? He's like, "Yeah, tomorrow they're gonna bring you in the office and they're gonna let you go." And I'm like,
Did maintenance
What?
tell you that? Maintenance
No.
had all the answers.
"No, this is
That's who
somebody."
used to tell me who was on the list.
So now I'm at Firestone. I just spent $900 in tires.
Oh,
I'm
my
like, you couldn't
God.
call me in the middle of the day, like before I left work, before I came to get
Let
new
you
tires.
know, yeah.
Wait a minute. They treated you like these athletes. You found out you were fired through
Yes.
Twitter. Basically, it's amazing.
So now he putting tires in my car, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? I tell this guy, I
Take
No, no, you
I need tires.
You've used ones.
But maintenance always knew who. From 80, I started in 83. Maintenance, you had to be friends with them, and I made sure. And we
Maintenance
were
fired
good
you?
friends. No, maintenance. See, whatever you all threw in the trash, they got out the trash. And they would read down, and I would say, "Did you see my name?" You know. But I saw so and so and so.
I'm going to try that this week.
No. But
So I got to
something
get every
maintenance,
piece of paper out of every trash can in here.
maintenance,
Bring it to me and put it in
maintenance
a
would
file.
know who was fired. And we had this one person, I love this person, but he would let me know every year if I was going to have a job because that would give me enough time to, send resumes out somewhere else, And he would say, "Oh, you're good."
That
You're
is
good.
brilliant. And so when I need to fire somebody, I'm just going to put it in the trash can. Because I don't want to confront them.
Yeah, you don't want to be the bad person. Absolutely.
Or if they're not doing a good job, you just put a fake one, like a draft. Just write a draft.
Nah, you don't want that because then the union rep and the teacher, I heard you're firing me.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's something wrong with y'all.
But that's why, you know, we stuck to that frame. You know, you had to, you know, and being a young person,
nervous,
23, 24, 25, you're not thinking about, well, I'm not going to be fired. You're thinking about, I'm in this career, I have to make a go out of it. I want to make a go out of it. So you're going to do what you're told.
But the frame is broken.
It doesn't matter. The point was, when you got observed, this is what they wanted to see. An organ, you know, they wanted classroom management. They didn't want Joe walking around, even
got
though
something to
Joe
say
is
now.
good.
Here it comes.
I let
So-
them all walk around.
This is definitely an administrator thing to say, but I can't remember the last time I saw a 23, 24-year-old kid afraid to get fired. Because they can't even put a suit jacket on for an interview nowadays.
And you're right, today. Yesterday for me, we were afraid.
I was scared to death
Yeah.
when I started teaching.
I was afraid too, you know. No, they don't put suit jackets on. They have the next generation. I do respect you. I admire many of the things that you stand for. But yesterday,
She's being politically correct right now.
no, I do. I really do. I think today's young people, and I'm looking at these beautiful young ladies here, they have more.
Young
With the
too.
young. because-
I'm slide over. I'm young too.
They take
share
more
my
risks.
age.
They
I'm
take
not that
chances that I would never have dreamed of doing. They take, and I admire you for that. My daughter is your age, and some of the things that she does, I have to come home and have a drink.
So how are you going to fix education if everyone's afraid to go against the framework?
The norm.
Well, I think maybe because I am of a younger age, stuff like that. I do think it like comes down. I'm in a building with like a really supportive administrative team, so I don't feel.
She's only
like,
saying that because you're sitting here right now.
I am, but like I would say that
You're being
anywho.
observed.
No,
right
she
now.
would say it. I feel it.
I would say anywho. I think I said it like when I was first interviewing. It's like, listen, I have to create this like atmosphere because I want to be here. So I think it just comes from the top down, and maybe that's the new trend in education. It's like there's a lot of support, at least in our building. So I don't think I have that experience of being scared. If anything,
that's
I
great.
think I'm not doing enough. Like, let's.
Right.
What else can we do to make it more exciting, more? I think that's maybe something that's new and different.
That's
Yes.
really
And I admire that.
And you know, I think also there's a thing that's like, if you're gonna get fired, you might as well go down
Go down.
doing something for your kids. You know?
That is so interesting. I don't know. I don't know. I can't stand being put into a box as an educator. And like you telling me this is what I need to do. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me because you're dealing with all these kids with different personalities, different issues. How are they all going to get crammed into this box and say, yes, this works? Like at some point you got to step outside of that. I'll get my hand slapped. You give me your letters, whatever. I don't care. At the end of the day, little Johnny is in a better place because I decided to step outside of that box. So I think we need more educators and administrators that want to go against the system. I think the system is broken in the sense that, just generally speaking, is the cookie cutter approach. Your school should not look the same as my school. They shouldn't run the same way as my school because we have different students. So it doesn't make sense that we apply all these things. Atlantic City is a different animal than this and Clearview and all. Like, why are we taking this approach and saying that this is how it works? This is the framework for every kid when the framework wasn't designed for those kids in the first place. So it just doesn't make sense.
I'll take it a step further. That my first period class should have looked like my second period class.
Exactly.
Because when you want to use a cookie cutter approach and you try to use what you're doing in the first period with second period students, then it doesn't work. These are totally different kids. So in that mindset, if you have a bunch of students that are performing really well academically, that classroom is going to look totally different from your low-end students, who's going to need a little bit more interaction, who's going to need a little bit more warm and fuzzy type teaching, who's going to need maybe a couple videos, maybe some music being played to be able to get them engaged into the learning.
that goes back to asking the students what they need from us as educators. You're not going to find that information out. And you might find out later in the school year when it's too late by the time you done did all your tricks and stuff. The first thing you should ask them when they walk in the classroom is, what do you need from it? At the end of the day, that should be day one, week one.
I agree with you, and that's what I used to do when I met my students. I would say to them, what is it that you really always wanted to do, but you couldn't do? Because I remember feeling this way. And what do you want me to do? Mm-hmm. And that's when you get your answers. And they would say, well, I would like to do this better. And I would say everything except cooking, because you're going to the emergency room. But anything else I can help you with.
Right.
And that's how we started. That was the relationship we started in. Is that whatever it was that you needed to know, that you wanted to know and your friends knew, but you didn't, like you said before, not wanting to ask for help, and I understand that, because that made you look weak, that made you look stupid, especially if the kid was like in the honors class and you're going to ask them, oh God, no, So I know that's a sense of pride, and that's what we would talk about,
right.
And that's how we started every year,
I want to switch gears a little bit. Hot topic right now is, gun violence in school and violence in school in general. I do feel my heart goes out to those people in Florida. My heart goes out to anybody that has experienced it. But I'm looking at the recent occurrences, and I kind of think society's going at it from the wrong direction, going after guns instead of, it kind of goes back to the social emotional learning piece. So the question that I had when I saw the student in Florida was not what was wrong with him, but what happened to him. So I was more concerned about, and I read the foster homes and all that, and it kind of made sense as to why he would explode. Not that it's right or nothing, but at least it makes sense. And I think a lot of educators, especially administrators and people that have policymakers or whatever, we have a tendency to look at, what's wrong with people and then have this reaction to it. So now in my school, we got all of these measures that are coming out, and how can we fix this and this and this and that. And I think the problem is that we are not connected with these children early enough and often enough to be able to address those issues. So the truth of the matter, at least for me, is I can be walking down the street and get shot. At the end of the day. So I'm not looking at the guns. I'm not necessarily looking at the measures that we have in the school, but how can I connect with these kids? And I mean, there's staff members in my building right now that are now pointing out kids that, they might come in and shoot this person. They might come and shoot this person. And they're staying away. I mean, I heard it yesterday, like all day long. So I'm like, this is crazy. And then they're backing off of these kids. And my response to it is, all right, then you feel that way. I'm going to have a connection with this kid.
Right.
Right.
Right. Communication. Someone said communication is very, very important. Communication. That'll tell you a lot. If you are a child and nobody loves you and nobody cares, most likely it's easy for you to fall into the wrong hands.
Absolutely. And if you look at this kid in Florida,
yes,
they kicked him out the system.
Right.
He got kicked out of every system. Foster home, the school,
yes,
everything.
Well, foster home at 18, you're out.
Right.
You're on your own.
But his situation, his parents passed and all that stuff.
Right.
But at the end of the day, every institution that he has ever known, he was kicked out of. So when I look at the school, when we suspend these kids and expel these kids, you're now saying, society, this is your problem to deal with. And then we're shocked, like, they came back and he killed all these people. Like, we're shocked at it. You kicked the kid out. Like, you didn't say, you're not welcome here. Now, and for me, if you kick me out of your house, Kareem, I'm going to have a problem with you and your house.
Absolutely.
I was going to curse, but I'm not going to. I'm like,
tell your mother.
What's this, the Dave Chappelle episode when he was like,
God.
yo, couch?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's funny. All right.
I didn't know we were going to talk about Rick James.
Shout out,
God.
shout out to Rick James.
Yeah, we about to
and
go
Dave
there.
Chappelle. I'll say this. Typically, when I get an opportunity to talk to a kid, he's already on 10. And a lot of times, they don't even understand what it was that they did for someone to say that you can no longer participate in the classroom. When we talk about culture and the home life, our kids are being raised with certain strengths. So when they come in the classroom, talking it may be something that goes on in their family all the time. We were talking to someone not too long ago where part of their culture, Hispanic culture, is talking. They'll talk you until you can't listen anymore. They'll just keep talking. One time I was talking to a family. I was there for 3 hours. I didn't say one word. I was there for 3 hours, and they just kept talking.
God, that sounds like my father.
So now what happens is that when the kid comes to school and one of the strengths that they've learned from their home environment is talking, we tell them you got to shut up and listen. He's like, no, I have something. No, shut up until you're called on. So now he comes to me or she comes to me and they don't understand what happened. Like, what did I do that was so wrong? Why doesn't she like me? Like for a child that's 11, 12 years old, even 13 years old, to start to feel that an adult does not like them. Now you're talking about this is personal. This go beyond academics. This is personal that you don't like me.
Exactly.
So now I have to result in what we do in the community is when you don't like me, you know what? I don't like you.
Rick James.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm gonna come in your house and I'm gonna do whatever I want to your sofa.
Right.
Because it's personal now. And I think that our kids in their young minds, they are not of age to be able to determine and make decisions on whether or not if this is a business relationship or this is a personal relationship. To them, it's always personal.
Exactly.
They got to get out of their feelings. Like
They are stuck in their feelings,
Stuck in
but
their
they're so young that they haven't learned how to get out their
Exactly.
feelings.
well, I mean, the educator too.
Oh, it's about the educator. I
feel like
it's
Oh yeah, there's
they feel like it's personal. Like, get out your feelings. Like, stop. Like, I look at what we do as a life and death situation for every kid that I come across. Either I'm going to save this kid's life or he's going to die. Going to go to jail, whatever's going to happen. That's how I look at it. It may be the world's black and white to me. I don't know how to exist within gray. So in my mind, I'm like, listen, if I don't save all of these kids, the alternative is not good. Even though they might make it, whatever. But my approach is I'm going to be, there's a life and death situation. Especially when I'm dealing with, a lot of our minority students that we have. We talk about the school to prison pipeline. We kind of touched on that too. And we talked on the phone the other day. Some of the statistics was like, if a kid is retained,
I think it was 70%. In fact, after I got off the phone from you, I went online and I looked up in this nation how many minorities were incarcerated, and it was over 60%. I can't remember.
It was 68% of the incarcerated male population.
Yes, it is.
Does not have a high school
And now
diploma.
females. There are a lot of females that are minorities that. In fact, in my neighborhood, they have a women's prison. My old neighborhood, they have a women's prison.
Right.
And I didn't look that up, but I will research that. But it was over 60%.
Right.
And then you're wondering what happened. How did it get that? And I told you that. Can you hear me?
No, you're good.
I told you that my brother had a business in Louisville, Kentucky. Why Louisville? I don't know. But he loved it because he said
he went to Louisville on purpose. Like, I'm going to.
He did. He because he
Shout
said
out
it
to
was
Louisville.
easy to open up businesses in the city of Louisville. And he told me, and I thought he was lying until I saw for myself, that for example, 1st Street was the elementary school, 2nd Street was the middle school, 3rd Street, I'm just saying, was the high school, but 4th Street was the prison. So they were telling you, we're going to see you there. And one of the problems Louisville had was there weren't a lot of opportunities. You either worked in the prison or you were a prison inmate.
I want to go there for a second, and I bet you there was a lot of similarities in terms of the way those buildings operated and the way they look. Like, take our schools, for example. We want these police officers and the SROs and stuff there.
I don't want them there.
CEOs are in prison. Same situation. The cells are the classrooms. It's the exact same layout as
So
as
then
the
you would
prison.
be talking about open classrooms.
I'm just saying, I don't think it's a coincidence that these institutions operate almost identical to each other. One's a little bit more harsh, yes.
You're about the school.
Yeah, he's talking about the layout of school.
Even how prisons operate
Yeah, they
versus
do.
how schools operate. The discipline policies, it's all the same. I mean, we had a time where we had in-school suspension.
Oh yeah,
right?
we did.
So then that's nothing but solitary confinement.
My
at the end of
oldest
the
daughter
day.
was
You
always
realize
in
when
there.
you're looking at it, I mean, it's not as I'm being over, dramatic, but there's a lot of similarities. And then you put them all on the same street. And here's your progression. I'm gonna open the door for you, and then you just walk right in there. So
But ironically, nobody ever robbed him. And I used to say, I don't think you made too much money, did you?
he didn't let people know how much money he made.
No one ever robbed him, but he was always out in the community. He was out and about seeing what people were doing, seeing what things, what was going on.
Because Darlene mentioned the same thing with our presentation, where though that when they like you, they're not going to let anyone harm
Exactly.
you.
That's right. That's exactly what happened. And I used to think, how can you be out here at 11:30, 12 o'clock at night?
Right.
His store would stay up until 12.
Right. So let's go back to the teachers about pointing out the student that is going to quote unquote shoot up the school. Even on a personal level, my mentality is, you know what? I'm gonna be friends to this kid so he won't come after me on a very fundamental level. It's the same tactic in like our neighborhoods that where we grew up in. We don't want to live next to the drug dealers and the shooters and the robbers. I want to befriend you so that I don't have
nothing
anything
happens.
to
That's a way of life when you live in urban areas. That is a way of life that you learn to get along with the people. Now, you may not agree with what they're doing, but, and you notice too, that you learn how to mind your business, and you learn how to get along with them, find a way to get along with them, and they don't bother you. And I'll be honest with you, on our block, every house got robbed because of but ours, growing up. But I always thought because we were so poor, it didn't matter. We didn't have anything to take. I didn't think. People's colored TVs,
But I'll say this, in the realm of a school, the kids when they arrive first thing in the morning, regardless of what they went through, it's a fresh start for them.
It is. Every day's a new day.
But if we start to remind them of what their home life is like, and we don't allow them that peace of mind just to come in and just take a deep breath, now what happens is that their reactions and responses to what's going on in the community is now going to transfer into school. Because they're going to view it as the same. Schools used to be a safe haven. Parks used to be a safe haven where regardless of how tough you are, you knew that you're not going to do anything wrong because the school and the parks were always a safe haven for everyone.
It was.
Now the rules are changing because the viewpoint and the perspective of our students are changing how they view schools. Now they're viewing schools and teachers as if they're the enemy.
Exactly.
But it's not supposed to be. So we're supposed to be the facilitators, like you always say, to be able to get them to that next level.
The kids are the part of the equation that we forget to collaborate with the most. Right? This whole podcast, we're talking about communication and collaboration, and a lot of times that we forget to collaborate with kids and ask them exactly what you said, ask them what they want.
What they want. And some some administrators that I'm aware of will quasi do that, but they'll always pick the good kids, right? So we had strategic planning in our district not too long ago, and I was asked, we need to have students there. And then the plan was, well, I'm going to get the honor roll students and all that. I said, that's not who needs to be there. I said, you need to get the kids that, you feel like need to change the most and put them in. Who don't want to come. We need to know why. We need to know why.
Kids and
Right. So my conversations on a daily basis is with the kids that are struggling the most.
It's not even that they're going to get what they want. It's just that they will feel so heard. Sometimes the kids just feel like they're not heard ever. Their opinion doesn't matter. That's why we ask questions when they get in trouble.
Right.
What would you do differently, or what would you like to see to resolve this problem? Instead of saying, now you have 2 detentions and this is happening.
Right.
You're getting your seat moved.
Right. And that's part of the reason why we started doing a podcast at our school with our students is to give them a voice. And we just kind of randomly grab students to have them interview adults, and you could just tell, like, they was just so surprised to be on there, and they had a lot to say, and they had a lot of good stuff to say.
Remember the one who didn't think that we actually left school and we didn't eat?
She was like, I really think that I thought that the teachers stayed at school.
Oh no!
Like when she was little, not like now, but just little. She was like, I didn't know you had a life.
Of every day is listening to the kids. I mean, they do. They have a lot to say. And I think sometimes we're not listening to them. I know sometimes I'm not listening, but when you do listen to them, they have so much to say, and they
Right.
will tell you a lot about what they want and what they need and what they feel if you ask them.
Right. I have a saying that when I go to speak and do things, educators need to be a student of their students first before you do anything. To become a student of your students. Because if I don't understand you, how can I teach you at the end of the day?
And on another note, you were saying that, when they come in for discipline and you get 2 detentions, in reality, for real, reality, I used to tell my own children when, they were in trouble for whatever, and I had children 2 ends of the spectrum. One was always in trouble. And with that are consequences. And I used to say, you know what? If I don't pay this electric bill, what do you think's going to happen? That's the consequence.
Right.
If we don't pay this mortgage, what do you think? We're going to be sitting outside. So there are consequences for everything that you do, whether they be good or bad. And that has to be
I say the
taught.
same thing every day.
That has to be taught. If I don't pay that car payment, or my buddy here doesn't pay that car payment, that man is coming.
He
It's
waiting
just
for
a
it.
matter of
He's
time.
Chuck right there.
And the payment's due today.
We're going to switch gears a little
Okay.
bit, have a little bit of fun here on our podcast. We like to do this at the end. So I'm going to ask you some random questions, and everyone needs to answer them.
Uh-oh.
Right? So, in honor of our musician, we'll start there, and then we'll
Okay.
take you out somewhere else. Give me your top 3 musical artists that you're listening to right now.
Right now.
Everybody thinks about this.
Okay, so I'll start. John Mayer,
Mm-hmm.
I think his music is awesome because if you actually listen to the lyrics, he says the most with the least amount of words and confusion. So he has a song that goes, "Say what you need to say," and it repeats over and over.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh my gosh.
Is that kind of like
Why
Versace,
would I just-
Versace?
Not exactly like that, but I think that's something that's really cool. What am I into right now? Oh, well, the kids love Ed Sheeran. I think we listen to him a lot in class,
So question B is, you had the music still, you had the worst day ever. What are you listening to on your way home?
Oh my gosh. Recently it's been Blackstreet's No Diggity. So really,
No Diggity.
So it really depends. I think of music as like it creates an environment. So I'm someone, if I'm feeling down, I need something to pump me up.
Really?
So I'm not someone who wallows in it. There's a big poster in my classroom that says, "You can't have too much happy." So when the kids make me sad, I'm like, what does that poster say? They're like, "You can't have too much happy." I'm like, exactly. So we got to pump things up, change the atmosphere. And so that's kind of something I kind of do. It's opposite than most.
Top 3 first, or 2, or 1.
I mean, I would say probably, I found a station, 106.1, that plays a lot of 90s music, and so I'm really into that right now on the way to work. But I would say probably Eric Church is who I listen to
Yeah,
most
somebody
right
else
now.
said that in the last podcast.
And his music isn't always upbeat. I think a lot of, but I just feel, I guess similar to what you're saying about John Mayer, like he just kind of talks to you. So I feel like he's somebody who's listening to me, like he understands what I'm thinking, and so I just
You feel like he's talking to you.
Yeah, I do.
He's writing these songs for you?
He is. I almost met him once.
Almost.
Never lived that down.
How you
but
almost meet somebody?
We were, my husband and I were at a concert. Now I'll give away who I am. My husband and I were at a concert, and he just like hopped off the stage. We were at the Borgata, and he's like, "You want to go get a drink?" And we were like, "Nah, we don't really feel like it right now."
Wait.
What's wrong with us? Yeah.
He asked you if you
He
want.
asked my husband and I, and we were like, "Well,
You
I
sure
don't
it
really
was
feel
this-
like having a drink."
Now I gotta
Who
ask this
says
question.
that? But,
So you mean
that
tell me
was-
that this
Never
performer
lived down.
asked, was it you or was it your husband he
I
was asking?
think it was both of us.
No, it
quite
wasn't.
honestly.
It was not. It was not. I'm gonna correct you. It was not that.
It was. I mean, he just like hopped off the stage. There was a group of people, but he just moved right on to the next. I think it was both of us because I think he had a drink with the gentleman after he
don't
asked me, and
know.
it was like whoever's right here. But we just said no, and then we're like, well, we don't really know who he is.
You're a counselor.
We weren't
have
there to see him.
Have to
we
change
were
your
there to see someone
perspective.
else.
You're a counselor. That's not what happened. That's not what happened.
But that's funny. We think about that often.
That is interesting.
Reflect on that. That's not what happened.
What are you listening to?
I've been listening to a lot of Stevie Wonder lately. When I come in the morning, I love Motown because my grandparents listen to Motown. It takes me to a really lovely place, I guess you could say. And I have a teacher in the morning who blasts music in the hallway. So when I come in, I'll go in and make a request. It is actually not. It's one of my math
Not
teachers.
Lola?
No.
He's got a great playlist.
Sometimes
Every
I'll
day.
sneak out in the hallway. 'Cause I'm like,
I'm like, oh, that's such a good
You're over there
Yeah.
partying.
It's a great way to start your day. So I'll go in and ask for. He usually will have Stevie on for me in the morning when I come in. So
Nice. Oops.
I'm into Marvin Gaye.
Oh.
Yes,
Marvin Gaye.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Really interesting.
And James Brown. I have a grandson. He's 3. And I always used to laugh, but if you really listen to the lyrics in James Brown, you have to listen. Some of the things he's saying is making a lot of sense. He's saying stuff.
But his songs are too long. I ain't got
I
time
think-
to read it. It's like
oh,
30-minute song. Like,
But that
what?
band was funky.
Yeah, well,
I can't decipher what he's saying at times.
Wait a minute, and my grandson knows the routine. He gets into his
You
car
don't know.
seat and he goes, "Ow, I feel good."
James Brown was the original mumble rapper.
Yes, he was.
I get
He
it.
was.
I understand.
But I had a lot of
Mumble
respect
R&B,
for him
yes.
because that was a man, another one, who came from nothing
Yes,
and made everything.
absolutely.
You know,
He created a lane
with
for himself.
little to no education whatsoever, but had a talent to do, like you said, music. You know. Now his singing wasn't that great, but he knew that he had to have a dynamite band, and you all have to admit that band was tight.
I'll go as far as that to say that if he was here today, growing up, we would have gave him some type of speech therapy. We're going listen.
Well, whenever
We're
he
gonna
couldn't
set
think
you-
of, well, one thing about
We're gonna fix this.
wait a minute, whenever
Legendary.
he couldn't think of a word, I think Eddie Murphy said it best. He would say, "Ha!
Yes, absolutely.
I'm gonna try
You
that.
got the point."
We'll put him in speech. He'll be going there 2-3 times a week. We're going to
Yeah,
fix
it's
this.
funny. He has
But he was
ideas.
also able to deal with the issues that were going on during civil
Yes.
rights. He was right down there in Washington with the
Yes.
president. Most people, believe it or not, listen to him. That I lived in that time, so I know. Most
voice of
people
people.
listen to them. During that time, when Dr. King was killed, you were not born. You weren't born. No, she wasn't.
Like, how old do you think?
No, she wasn't born. I was 10, so I know I was 11. The streets were, Philadelphia was off the charts.
Yes.
Riots were everywhere. New York, Detroit,
Newark,
and he came. They called James Brown. He didn't call them. They called him to kind of solve the situation. That is true. You know.
All right, next question. My dog's back there. He don't agree with you. But
Okay, it's cool.
let's not forget James Brown 5 moment in Rocky 4. Shout out to Philadelphia.
Sure did.
what was the last movie that made you cry?
Ooh.
Wonder.
She was like, "Damn, I was crying this morning."
I did not cry
But here's-
watching that movie.
Did anybody see the movie?
I didn't see that movie.
Okay, well, the reason I love the movie, because obviously it has like a lot of message about like, you know, acceptance, but you got to see it from like a student's perspective where like it's a kid who wants to be a good kid and he didn't make the right choice and then he felt
Right.
so bad about it. And I was like, oh my gosh, how many times do you make a sad choice and feel awful about it?
There's one outside. They parked in back of everybody.
Oh
And
God.
sometimes that's what's like so powerful and it makes me like tear up. It's like, oh, we all make sad choices, but we could do better tomorrow. And that's just an important thing.
Trying to think of a time where I actually felt bad about something that I did. It's tough.
I have.
Oh, you sound like my brother.
I always feel bad about everything.
But it's funny because I watched the movie Wonder with my family and everybody cried but me. But because
You have no feeling. You're a guidance
It's hard.
but I guess maybe I felt so good about the outcome of that movie that it didn't make me sad. It made me so happy because I think that a lot of our kids really do have that reflective ability where they just think about like, oh, it's really weighing on me and I'm going to try to make a change. And I think, I always try to see the good in people. So I enjoyed that movie, but it didn't make me sad.
So what was the last movie that made you cry?
The last movie that made me cry was the movie The Shack.
The who?
The Shack.
And it
Like
was
Shaquille
a
O'Neal, the shot.
He has a movie.
But and I'm not very religious, but it has a religious basis. But I feel like the reason why the movie made me sad is there were parts where we were talking about us being the judge of when someone makes a right decision, when someone makes a wrong decision, and I said that is something that I struggle with personally, and I know that our kids struggle with that and our families, where we always want to be the authority on what was the right choice and why. And it made me so sad that this is something that I feel like I deal with all the time. And I feel like that was the part of the movie that just made me, crushed me. Because, again, I always try to see the positive, and I'm like, God, sometimes, I really do that. And I need to work on that.
How about you?
I'm gonna say the movie Gifted with the little girl.
Look, she about to cry already.
Oh
my gosh.
I think I have to take that back. I saw that one after The Shack, and I
didn't
did
want to
cry.
watch it. It's one
What's
of
the
the.
Gifted?
I'm not a big movie buff, but the little girl in the movie number one looks like my daughter.
She
So
totally does.
that was an extra added bonus of. But I didn't know how it was going to end, which otherwise I wouldn't have watched it because I'm an avoider of things like. So the little girl's mother, she passes away. Her mom was a math genius, and so she's with her uncle and the grandmother, who was the parent of her uncle, and then the mom. So they're siblings. Am I making sense there? Comes in and tries to take the little girl away from the uncle. So she does get taken away and put into another, a
Can't
foster
listen
setup.
anymore.
I got another
Horrible.
question. Why are we watching movies that you know is gonna make you cry?
See, I didn't. That's the only reason why I even.
It just sounds sad listening to this.
I know, it's so sad.
It's like therapeutic.
It turns out okay,
Right,
but it was grueling to watch this.
Did you just turn it off? Like, I can't watch
I
it.
can't
I
watch
should
it.
have, but
You just
I
kept
wasn't
watching.
the only one.
You had to figure out how this is going to end.
Miss Pitt.
Okay, well, I had two, but one of them being, it's an old movie. It's called Beaches. I loved that movie.
I read the book. It's a book, right?
Yes,
I read the
yes.
book.
It was called, and it was about basically two little girls that they were from different walks of life, and they befriended each other, and this friendship lasted through a lifetime, And I'll never forget, my daughter and I cried at the end. So we're coming up the stairs and we're crying, and my husband says, "What on earth happened? Who died?"
So what was the second one?
Cooley High.
Oh, there it is.
That was in my mind. Everybody
Cooley
knows
High.
Cochise?
You know about Cooley High?
Cochise.
Cooley High was a movie that shot in Chicago, and that was my mom's hometown. And it was about a group of children, African American children, growing up in the era of the 60s. And things that were going on, and it was similar. Think of Happy Days, but it's urban. That's what it was.
It's a great
And
movie.
in the end, the kid gets killed, and then you see that the police don't come around there. So, and I thought I was really young when I saw it. I think I was about maybe 16, and I thought, gee, if they had the ambulance, he could have been saved, But no, they didn't come in that, but not on the south side. It might take them an hour to get there.
Gotta sing the song at the end. It's so
Hard to say goodbye. Yes.
I can't sing. I'm not
Yes,
even
I
going
love that song.
to pour some out.
Boys to Men sing it.
Yeah.
I had that cut.
They do. One more question. And Kareem, when I give this question, you can take over at this particular point in time. Are you petty?
Okay. Here's the thing. I'm on a mission this year to allow people to embrace their pettiness. I'm petty. I'm very petty.
Okay.
And I'm allowing myself to be able to reach out to those that also may be petty.
Okay.
Because I think that everyone has a little bit of pettiness in them. And they try to hide.
Can I jump in right now?
Yes, sir.
Here's his pettiness, right?
Which one?
The rings. We're going to talk about the rings.
Oh, the rings. Okay. Yes, how petty I am. Yes, go ahead.
If you're getting married, should your ring cost the same as the significant other's ring? he feels as though that his ring should be
I want to shine too.
the same amount or more.
I want to shine.
Oh, you wouldn't have made it.
You're petty. You are petty. Anyone else? Because she's already coming out. She said she's petty. Anyone else want to join?
I'm 100% petty.
Okay, we got 2. Can we get 3?
I feel like you guys know me. I feel like I'm not petty at all.
You sure?
And we're gonna get to that in a second.
I don't know. Maybe
I got another
like,
question.
I'm trying to think of
Okay,
scenarios.
he just said
Okay.
if his ring, the wedding rings, cost more. What if he hadn't given you a ring and you gave him one?
I would be okay with that. Like that, I'm not petty about.
Okay, so you got
certain
something that you're gonna get.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
There's got to be something. I'm just like having a hard time thinking of it. I'm sorry. There's got to be something. I'm just having a hard time thinking of it.
I guess
Okay.
something that's up your alley too that we argue about all the time. But
All right, so let's say that we go to the store and you pick out a ring, and let's say that it's $5 grand. How much are you willing to spend on mine?
The band or the
You're petty. You already know you're petty. You're not spending any of it. How much are you willing to spend? Because we're gonna pull this pettiness out of you.
Oh God. I mean,
Go ahead. Go ahead and say
I feel
it.
like my husband's wedding bands cost the same amount as mine,
You sure?
but it wasn't intentional. It was just like, oh, why don't you get that? Do you like it? Whatever you want.
You picked it out for him.
No, I let him pick it out. I'm pretty sure he paid for
So-
both of them, but isn't
Whoa,
it the
whoa,
same?
whoa, no.
I'm gonna go there and say my husband.
But isn't it like the same
That's
thing?
petty.
how you gonna pay for his own ring?
Yeah, that's petty.
You know what? You know what? I am petty.
You are. Okay.
I'm
4 out
now-
of 4.
I'm now thinking of a scenario. So my husband definitely pays most of our bills. And I've used my income as like, oh my gosh, I could go shopping. How much fun is this? And now I contribute and I'm like bitter towards it. Is that petty?
Oh yeah.
That's definitely.
Does that make
petty.
a little petty?
Nice.
That's an awakening where so you have to.
Now that I'm helping out, I'm like, oh, it's not all mine.
Paid for his own ring.
She got
Yeah.
some hustle with her too.
Sheesh.
She hustled it.
All right, so here's the next one. You just start dating your significant other. You're not even considered in a relationship yet. First date.
Okay.
First day.
You're out to eat. Who pays?
He did.
Man.
She was quick. Bam. Who pays?
Anyone else?
I mean, you got to feel it out. I feel.
What do you mean?
You got to feel
Look,
it
the
out.
check is on the table.
It's on the table.
See,
Now,
who's going to
this
reach
generation
first?
is probably different.
I paid.
So I don't know.
paid?
See,
Yeah.
now that would have been
I
inappropriate
paid.
in
Like, that's messed up.
1965. 1975.
There was a reason I paid, and it was because we had went out like a couple nights before, and I offered to pay for gas, and he was like, "No, it's my vehicle, I'll pay." And I said, "Oh well, then I got you next time." So I paid for dinner.
So
Wait, no.
time out. So did the waiter come up and slide you the check, or did he slide him the check?
They put the check in
No,
the middle, probably.
I don't remember, but I remember taking it.
And he was okay
We
with
went to
that.
Applebee's.
See, this is no. That doesn't count.
no.
That doesn't count because that's the same price as a tank of gas. That doesn't count.
At the time, it probably wasn't.
That's the same-
But at the time,
trying to
gas was a
think,
lot
no.
cheaper, so he probably made out better than I did. But no, but I paid. And I think he was fine with it. I'm gonna have to go home and ask him that because maybe he owes me like half the bill.
No, I think it's,
I mean, I think we should
it's
say
another-
years later.
It's just
It's
another
like 15
time.
years later.
Oh, she's new to the pettiness. Where are we at? You're new. Come on in. Come on in to the club. It's
I
okay.
don't-
Come on.
I don't think I've ever paid for like,
Ever?
no.
Wow.
That's me too.
So you get.
But I would so,
remember
I would
being
so
on a
want
date.
to. Like, I would have no problem paying.
So you're the one that gets up when the check comes, go to the bathroom.
No, I'm always like, I
You
just
sit back and open your pocketbook and start putting more lip gloss on?
No, I just
maybe.
Oh,
Like, oh, you got the check, and like, do you put my lip gloss on? How did you know?
He's petty.
I know what you guys do.
my
I know what those signs are. When so you oh, the bill's here. Me get my pocketbook.
But when I go out with my
Pull a
friends,
mirror
I'm
out.
always like,
Because
oh, I'll
she
take
look
up the
good
whole
when
thing.
she's about to-
The reason this question came up
That's
because
hysterical.
my friend and I, every time we go out, we play this game of who pays the bill.
Okay.
Like I have to be super creative now. Like Copper said, I shouldn't be paying. Thing is, the man, if I'm
That's
going
you.
out,
yeah. See, that is
But I
a
think
way.
that wouldn't
That is
be what I
Because I'm so happy to see him that I want to pay the bill.
I totally
Now
do that
see,
all the time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are you taking applications for more friends?
Yes.
I want to be
Now,
your
if
friend.
you were
Alright.
on a date, now would you do that?
I think I would feel it out.
Really?
But
Okay. See, that's the difference between my time and you guys, you lovely ladies.
never wanted
Because
to
see,
be
it was
I'm young too. You keep forgetting me.
oh yes.
Look at me. Like
It was unheard of that women paid, you know. So when I would go, I'll never forget. I was on a date with this real handsome guy. Don't tell nobody.
It's her husband.
It's long time ago. Way long. And we went to Bookbinders in New York.
He spent a grip.
Yes, he did. You know, and I wasn't thinking about paying. I was thinking about how cute I was looking.
That's interesting.
That's crazy.
No, that he did. You know, and he supplied. We went to see a show.
And the show? Mm-hmm. In New York.
And you had to get up there.
Yeah, he drove. He drove up there.
He dropped some.
Yeah.
I see why you asked your dad for 10 G's. You just used to.
So used to. Money's never been a problem.
No.
We're going to
Well, see,
Bookbinders.
I'll be honest with you. He was not my age. I was 20, and he was about 33 or 34. He had never been married, so he was already stable. So I kind of geared to guys that were already. First of all, I didn't want. Oh, we're on the air. Oh, we are?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't want guys that were my age that only wanted to take you to McDonald's and jump your bones.
What's
I
wrong with
wasn't interested in
McDonald's?
that.
What's wrong?
I like going to see shows at the. Well, you don't know about the Latin Casino. You know, to see different entertainers, and then take me out to dinner, and then I'm going home.
I'm offended.
No. Well,
Me and my
You
wife.
might not get a good night kiss, depending.
Man, that's rough. Me and my wife's first date was at McDonald's.
But you all were
13.
Both, yeah,
It is
13.
what it is.
I still can't understand how she got with you.
I don't know how to take that.
No, this beautiful girl, and I know her parents are tight, and here you are, wild as ever.
I was not wild at all.
No, you were.
I was quiet. I was an athlete,
Okay, athlete, okay.
and she saw the potential in me.
Athlete, no, she saw athlete. I remember that.
And she wanted to go to McDonald's.
You're getting roasted on your
I
podcast.
know. I'm getting to eat
let me
now.
ask this. Did you supersize?
Did I
Did
supersize?
she get cheese? Well, no.
I don't know. I know I got a fillet of fish. I don't know what
Okay.
she got. Then we went to go see Ricochet.
Did you?
Yeah.
And you
Oh.
were 13?
13.
And her mother let her out the house?
No.
Snuck
She
her in.
She
snuck-
has a bigger sister.
Oh, I
it was
know
a-
how
it was a
this
double
works.
date.
So my sister goes, so I have to go where, because my brother used to have to go when I first started dating. Where guy used to beat that boy every day.
Oh, Jesus.
But him tell him.
All right, we're going to wrap this podcast up. So I want to plug a couple. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, any last words before we go? Any words of encouragement for those parents or educators that might be listening to our podcast? We're growing, by the way. I think we hit 1,300 hits on the page this week alone. So we're getting there. And, you know, we're getting close to that 7,000 mark on the podcast. So, which is awesome. Any last words? Jennifer?
Just keep talking to your kids. Listen to them. You know, ask questions.
Sweet. Lola?
I think it goes back to, finding what allows them to shine, because kids just want to be successful. So be flexible as to what their strength may be.
I just want to say thank you for having all of us on, and what a nice conversation it was to sit around with like-minded people who love kids in one room and have a great conversation. And I would just say, bring a positive attitude to work every day. You can't go wrong with that.
I just want to say, always keep the lines of communication open. Some days, teachers, you may be angry at whatever was done, but always keep that, no matter what, keep those lines of communication open.
Mr. Petty?
Embrace your pettiness. He's never a teacher. If you're petty, let the students know. Listen, I'm petty. So if you don't do your homework, this is what's going to happen because I'm petty. I have expectations in my classroom.
That's too funny.
More important than anything, just continue to communicate and build relationships with your students.
Awesome. Before I get to today's lesson, shout out to Pete Castellano. Don't forget his book is out, School Sucks. You can find it on Amazon. Don't forget my book, Life Music, is out there too. Still plugging that. Shalonda Austin, her book is out. Say it till you see it.
Yes.
Make sure you get that on there. And we're going to be on YouTube soon. We're going to get some video elements. I keep saying it, but we're going to get there. We've been a little bit busy here at the Empowerment Perspective podcast. So we're going to get that on there. We're on iTunes. We're on Podbean. We're on theempowermentperspective.com. We're on every Twitter, Instagram, any social media outlet that's out there. Continue to follow us. And I'm going to put these ladies on the spot because we are going to have a young ladies and a young males retreat. I'm going to come knocking on the door to ask for your help. So the empowerment perspective is about getting like-minded people together, like you said, and doing some wonderful things for the community. So you will be seeing us again. And if you want us to bring the podcast to your students, we can do that too. I think that would be an awesome platform to teach you how to do that too as well. So today's lesson, I'm shouting out to Josey. They have a song, and the lyrics of the song says, "Don't talk, just listen." So in the means of, and I guess solidarity with the conversation here about communication, stop talking all the time and listen to your children.
Yeah.
Listen to what they're saying. Listen to what they're into. Watch their body language. Don't just ask them what happened what happened today in school. Ask them how they feel. Get in touch with your students and your own children in order to be able to relate to them and to teach them and to help them and guide them the right path. You have to know what they need to do that. So stop thinking that you're the adult. You should know everything that needs to happen for these children because they're unique individuals. So we need to find what their strengths are and sort of just play to that. So, and I guess shout out to Josey. Don't talk, just listen. On behalf of the Empowerment Perspective, I'm Damiso Josey. Stay empowered.